What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? Was once criticized by an older family member for having a straight tooth that gave me a bit of a craggy smile as an adolescent. It has settled in nicely. I was raised to not criticize what people can't help and to give compliments where possible, and so I did just that, sorta. Aunt. Nice crocodile smile. Me. Thanks. Aunt. It's just that tooth, you know, makes your smile all crooked, but it's not that bad. You could get it fixed. Me. I suppose, but I know I'll never have teeth as nice as yours are. They're like stars. Aunt. Like stars? You mean as in bright? Me. No, as in they come out at night. My uncle had given me a book called 1001 Insults for Every Occasion a while earlier, and that gem was in it. A neighborhood kid was picking on my daughter, and she replied with, "I'm sorry you are so sad." Kid just walked away. That's the type of thing that the bully will think about in the shower as an adult. 30-year-old bully crying in the shower in a fetal position. I just wanted her to notice me, not my vulnerabilities. I heard a story once about some girls in an elevator who were insulting some black guy in another language they thought he didn't understand. Hindi, I think. Specifically commenting on his ugly black face. Apparently the guy waited till the elevator reached his floor, looked at them, and in perfect Hindi said, "Better to have an ugly face than an ugly heart," and left. Edit. I wasn't expecting all the attention, so I just want to note some things. #1, seriously, I don't know if it was Hindi, so to all you people bad-mouthing Indians, apologizing on behalf of them, I could easily be wrong. #2. Yeah, I know it might not have happened. The question was about great comebacks, not true stories. I witnessed this in high school. One of my friends was black, but grew up with a Korean stepmom. Some girls were talking shit about her in Korean, and just before she got off the bus, she turned around and reamed them out in fluent Korean. Was jokingly asked out to your 10 formal prom in front of whole class by a popular girl who definitely had no interest in me. I without a moment's hesitation say, "No thanks, Lauren. I have standards whole class," and teacher lost it. Oh man, she had a crush on you for years and finally worked up the courage to ask you to prom just for you to destroy her dreams. That's how movies work anyway. A street hustler is trying to hand out sell CDs and an overweight gentleman walks by and says no thanks. Hustler, if it was a donut, you'd eat it. Tubby, if it was $1, you'd beg for it. How do you go from calling someone an overweight gentleman to Tubby 2 seconds later, sir? Character development. I've been called much worse by people much better. I have been called worse things by better people. This was Pierre Trudeau's, former Canadian Prime Minister, response to learning Nixon had called him an asshole. Teacher, asks a tough question. Jimmy, says the correct answer. Karen, LOL, you're such a nerd. Teacher, be nice to him, Karen. He could be your boss someday. Jimmy, it's okay, teacher. I have no interest on being a pimp anyway. Whole class losing their minds. You dress like a grandpa. That's why your mom calls me daddy. As someone who dresses like a grandpa, I'm using this. I'm gonna start dressing like a grandpa so I can use this. I bet that sounded a lot cooler in your head, damn. Just laugh out loud. If someone's trying to make you mad, acting like nothing they've said matters to you in the least, and their best attempts at making you feel bad or laughable will really take the wind out of their sails. I've done it. It's immensely satisfying. Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand Mark Twain. My dad told me to respond to bullying by saying, "Sorry about your family situation," and walk away looking very sympathetic and sad, like you understand and it's okay. I've caused a few breakdowns for sure. One of my main bullies got to me. There was a rumor going around that his dad was super abusive. He called me fat for the trillionth time, and I turned and said, "I see why your dad hits you now, dude. Freaked LMAO. I'm a girl, so he didn't beat me up. Hope he's doing better. Still kind of feel bad for snapping in that way. No one deserves to be beaten by a parent." My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top as she was fierier. One time though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff and he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him and glowered. "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot?" Man, nobody bickers like old married couples bicker. They've had decades to perfect their craft. Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex, it was terrible. The first time I had sex." And a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down, you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember," and the crowd just lost their shit. It was amazing. Okay, now we need the source of this clip. Here you go.
This is how bad I was at sex the first time. The first time I ever had sex.
Yesterday?
My grandma asked my cousin, who'd had lots of partners and 2 kids at this point, if she was ever going to get married. Cousin: it's not the same nowadays. We don't buy cars without test driving them first. Grandma: yeah, but they don't let you put 100,000 miles on them either. Point goes to Granny. Your cousin's not a car, she's a bicycle. Well, now I'm imagining a bicycle driving a car. I work at a hotel. A few years ago, this guest got into a spat with our security officer over something, but she wasn't getting whatever she wanted, so she told him he was full of shit. Our security officer replied immediately, "No, I'm not. I took care of that this morning, but thank you for your concern for my good health and regularity." At this time, I was about to bust up laughing, so I had to excuse myself to the back office, and as I was leaving, I heard him continuing on with this lady, deadpan: "But I promise I eat a healthy diet full of fiber. It warms my heart to know you're concerned with me having regular bowel movements, so the next time I'm constipated, I know you're thinking of me." It continued on, and all the more he's playing this deadpan, and it's making the lady madder and madder. And I'm in the back laughing so hard I'm nearly crying. After that spiel was over though, she didn't give us any more problems the rest of the night. My dear grandmother, she had a quick and savage wit. My fiance and I held a meet the whole family get together at my house. It was the first time his father met my grandmother. His dad was a large, physically intimidating man with a beer gut. He began telling stories to my grandmother about how my fiance was a mischief maker when he was young, then told my grandmother how he would take off his belt and whip Joe for being bad. My frail little grandmother stares directly at my hubby's dad's tummy and says, "Your belt? However could you find it?" Future father-in-law was gobsmacked. Son: "Dad, you don't know how to make a joke, Dad. I made you." English class in middle school, Kid A: "Yo, Kid B, your mama waited on me at McDonald's last night. Must feel like shit having a mom that works at McDonald's." Kid B: "At least my mom gets out of bed to go to work." English teacher far louder than he realized, "Damn." The rest of us were laughing so hard, the teacher next door popped her head in to see what was going on. My brother was in his history class that just happened to have accumulated all the really disruptive and not so intelligent kids. They'd constantly interrupt and make the class hell, and the teacher didn't really do anything about it. One day, a girl who had caused a ton of problems acted up in the usual way to derail the class, and he had had enough. He turned to her and told her to shut up, and she flipped. The teacher told her to be careful what she says to him because she might be working for him one day. My brother turns to the teacher and goes, "Nah, I don't plan on being a pimp." The class loses it. The teacher has to step out from laughing, and that girl apparently didn't bother my brother for the rest of the year. Oh my God, absolutely destroyed. So Harvard went to play Dartmouth in soccer or something, and all the Harvard guys love lording that they go to Harvard over everyone, so they dress to the nines. Harvard guy in a 3-piece suit goes to a urinal next to a Dartmouth guy, and they finish about the same time, but the Dartmouth guy is walking straight out the door when the Harvard guy scoffs and says, "At Harvard, they teach us to wash our hands after we go to the bathroom." The Dartmouth guy stops, barely looks back, and says, "Yeah, well, at Dartmouth, they teach us not to piss on our hands." I've never really understood this one, or the variations of it I've heard. I mean, hear me out. If you've touched anything in the bathroom at all, including your own dangly bits, why would you not wash your hands? Even if you don't pee on yourself, you've still touched public bathroom stuff. I learned this in 3rd grade. If someone sticks their tongue out at you, say, "No thanks, I use toilet paper." They will never do it again. Works with all ages. Asterisk edited will to with. Where has this been all my life? This one is my favorite so far. When somebody is insulting me without any purpose, I just tell them, "Bad day, huh?" I swear, 90% of the people almost immediately calm down and even apologize to me because they seriously had a bad day and they just had too much bad energy without a way to let it go. There's no need to fight back. Sometimes we need a good approach to end the argument and calm down the attacker. Edit. Holy mother, I didn't expect such an activity here. Thanks guys, I really appreciate it. I will use this. Better to definitely diffuse a situation than agitate it. Your life is more about regret management than goal achievement, isn't it? You're less a person and more a loose collection of personality flaws. Everyone who has ever loved you was wrong. You need to go home and think about everything you are, then change it. It is impossible to underestimate you. Bob Ross would call you a mistake. Stupid people can believe in anything, so you can believe in yourself. I don't respect you enough to be insulted by you. Big fan of the pause for a beat, deadpan, and then some variation combo of "you done?" Feel better now. Got that out of your system? Just that pause and little bit of patronizing tone while dismissing the childlike behavior usually does more to the ego than a counter insult. I'm a woman, and my job basically boils down to arguing with attorneys attorneys who are mostly men with huge egos and a large helping of disdain for people they deem beneath them. It's common for them to get pushy, loud, and insulting when they're not getting their way. That was intimidating at first, but now I look forward to it because it gives me an opportunity to use my favorite line. It sounds like you're getting a little emotional about this. Do you want to call me back when you've calmed down so we can get this done? This is always met with a delicious pause, followed by them either hanging up or launching into the most high-pitched screeching you've ever heard. Being called emotional by a woman who is perfectly calm breaks something in them, and it's my favorite thing.